Where?
Is it going?
All right. So we're gonna restart because there was a technical issue. So good evening. I'm gonna call this September 10th, 2024 agenda meeting to order. Roll call. I'm present. Deputy Town Supervisor Joseph Drescher, Council Member Moskowitz, Council Member Delarada, Council Member Brennan, Council Member McPartlin, Town Attorney Finnan. We have the Town Clerk Michelle Martinelli. We have department heads present. The Assessor Eric Omberger, Chief Cochin, Laura Robertson, Ray Smith, Matt Yeto, Lori Peretti, and Janet Wynn. We wish to respectfully acknowledge that Niskayuna is on the traditional.
Sorry, Diane Percy.
Oh, Diane Percy. I'm so sorry. We wish to respectfully acknowledge that Niskayuna is on the traditional lands of the Kanikihaka and the Mohikinak peoples, past and present, and we honor with gratitude the land itself and the peoples who have stewarded this land throughout generations. And we will begin. We'll begin with the Public Works Committee. Take two. And that took? Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
Number one is a tentative resolution for a fence easement agreement for 248 Mohawk Trail. Homeowner wants to put a shed in the town drainage easement, and they're working on placing it. And we've looked at it. I don't have an issue. Ray doesn't have an issue as far as the placement. Which was held up last month because they came to us for the easement agreement before they had the permit in. So we're working with them. Hopefully they'll have it ready for the meeting. The next one is another fence easement agreement. This is for 1905 Union Street. I know it's been on the agenda for a few months, and we're just waiting for information from the property owner.
I've contacted the property owner. They haven't gotten back to me. I know Linda Scachetti in the building department was also going to reach out. I haven't heard anything from Linda, so I'm assuming the property owner's just not getting back to us.
Do you want to pull it for next month unless we hear differently?
That's fine.
Okay. The next one is a tentative resolution to appoint a maintenance worker. We're currently 3 staff members short right now in the water and sewer department. We have some applications. We're probably going to start doing some interviews shortly. If I have a name, I'll mention it to the board prior to the meeting. I'm not overly confident right now. There's a lot going on, and I'm not sure if we're going to be able to get everyone in for interviews. And on that same note, the senior civil engineer in my office has taken a job with another municipality. So I'm going to be looking for a replacement for Dan Volke. That may take a while. If I'm lucky, I'll find someone before the meeting. I doubt it, but I just want to mention it just in case I do get a name prior to the town board meeting. He's been great. He's looking to advance his career and move a little bit closer to home, and I don't fault him for that, but unfortunately we'll have to find someone to replace him. The next one is a resolution to authorize the purchase of a valve for the Valley Drive Sewer Pump Station. The cost of the valve is $10,500, which is beyond my authority. So we would need a town board resolution for that. And that is also a budgeted expense. The next one is a resolution to authorize the 2024 spring residential, commercial, and residential utility billing reconciliation. Chris Linchinsky went through and checked all the numbers, and then my office also went through and checked it. And Diane's office provided information for the reconciliation. Everything looks good. Looking to move forward on that one. The next one is a resolution to amend a prior resolution for the upfitting of a dump truck with a third axle. When the contractors began working on the project, they noticed some things had to be changed on the frame to make the axle work. So the cost, which was originally quoted at $16,903, is going to now be $19,183.74. This requires a change order, which would require the resolution. This is also a part of our capital expenditures that we had planned for. Next one is a resolution to authorize the fall 2024 residential commercial utility warrant. I spoke to Chris yesterday. She's almost completely done with it, with the report. We'll check the numbers, and if everything is correct, we'll have for information to Elena prior to the meeting. The next one is a tentative resolution for the fourth quarter corporate utility billing reconciliation. A lot going on in the water billing.
You said fourth quarter.
Yes.
Is it
Did
This is
or
fourth, I'm sorry, first quarter.
Okay.
First quarter of 2024. If Chris is able to get that information together and we can check it, we'll do a resolution. If not, we'll be next month. And same is true for the second quarter corporate warrant. We can't do the corporate warrant until the reconciliation is complete and approved on the first quarter. So depending on how quickly she can get it done, we'll either do it this month or next month, but I wanted to have the opportunity to try to get it in this month. The next one is a resolution to authorize repair at the town water treatment plant. It's the one of the main water line leaving the water plant. I've sent an email to the town board requesting emergency approval for this work. We had a leak last week, I believe it was, when we excavated down to the leak. The contractor exposed the pipe, which is about 15 feet deep, which is very deep. It's in a large 18-inch water main. He attempted to make a repair on the pipe using a repair clamp, and the pipe just basically crumbled as he cleaned it off. So we looked at other options. Would we leave it offline because the plant's currently offline because of it, or repair the line in place? I chose to realign the pipe and replace the existing 18-inch pipe with a 16-inch pipe, which is, for some unknown reason, back when they did it in the late 60s, early 70s, they went excessively deep with it. We'll raise the level to 5 feet down, to standard depth, which would be safer, much more accessible for future connections if we had to. It would take that pipe, which is not trustworthy, out of the system, and we won't be digging it back up again in 2 years, because if we just bury it the way it is, it's going to fail again. That's at the highest pressure point in our system, which is over 155 PSI. So not something you want to mess around with. Right now, it looks as if the emergency contract with the contractor to do the work would be $19,183.74. I'm sorry, I'm reading the wrong number. I apologize. It's $25,090 for the contractor to continue working, and materials would be an estimated $34,233. This would take that relative of about 75 to 60 feet of old 18-inch pipe out of the system and replace it with the new ductile iron pipe, some additional valving and pressure flow meter that would be used to monitor the flow at the plant. It's estimated this work could be completed as early as the end of next week. The plant could go back online. Right now, we're offline, so every day we're offline, we're purchasing more water from the city of Schenectady.
Huh.
I'm asking to get emergency approval now so we can continue working and order the parts that we need so that they'll be available to continue the work. But I followed up with the town board resolution to formalize everything. And the next one, number 11, was going to be a resolution to award a contract for the paving of Knott Street associated with the water break that took place earlier in the year. But the contractor that we had been waiting for a quote from is not honoring our bid price. So we have to go out to bid for this work. So I'm going to put together bid specs and try to get this out as quickly as possible, but I doubt I can have it by the end of the month.
Can you follow up with me on that tomorrow?
Sure.
So then back to number 10. We have to-
Yes.
So you
Any
need emergency
questions?
approval. Yeah. Any questions? Any discussion on that? 'Cause it needs emergency approval.
I do have one thing to say also on that. We're going to utilize capital money that was bonded or budgeted for the replacement of water main, because this is technically a water main. It just happens to be on the grounds of the water plant, but it is a transmission main in the system. So we have money budgeted for this type of work.
Do we know if there's anything else like this, like along the line? Did you take a look? So this is just that part that's needs to be fixed, or could there be something a little bit further down the line? Or
So this particular pipe runs between two buildings.
Mhm.
It goes back into a building where it's visible.
okay,
The pipe inside the basement of the building is in good shape. It's been, protected from the environment.
Okay.
So it's just this section between the two buildings.
all right. Any further questions or discussion? All right, then we'll take a vote on it. Right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any oppositions? No. Okay. So emergency approval
Thank you.
allowed.
I guess I'll just add that Matt and I had a quick discussion about it before the meeting. And I think the repair is definitely imperative to getting the plant back online, hopefully by the end of next week, to alleviate any problems with water pressure and continuing to purchase from the city. So
Yeah.
definitely imperative to get our plant back online.
Yeah, absolutely. And you don't want to mess with water. I mean, as a firefighter and a firefighter, you don't want to mess with water pressure and PSI. So
No. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
thanks, Matt. All right. Next is Highway, Parks, and Recreation Committee. We got Ray Smith. Hey, Ray.
That's a tough act to follow, I'm going to tell you. It's going to be kind of boring. Number 12 is a tentative resolution to hire a grounds worker in the Highway Department, Parks Department. This is the last position that we have available. Then we'll be fully staffed. We did previous interviews. We have some new applications to review, and we're still getting more in. So we're hopeful to have a name for you for the town board meeting. Okay, any
All right.
questions? Thank you.
Thanks, Ray.
Pretty painless. Yeah, thank you. All right. Hi, Lori.
Hello. Number 13 is a resolution to hire soccer referees. This is for our ever popular fall soccer program. Probably have about a dozen kids to hire.
All right.
Anybody have any questions?
They're impartial. They're not gonna, or are they gonna help us out actually? Like if
Yeah.
it's against other teams, are they gonna help us
No.
out? Yeah, just making
Very
sure.
Impartial.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Larry. All right, next we have Economic Development, Historic Preservation, Environmental Conservation Committee. And that's a long one to say. Hey, Laura.
It's definitely the longest by a lot. Takes up a whole section of our website. So number 14 is a resolution to appoint alternative members to the planning board. We put a email blast out and put an ad up on our website, and we received 3 resumes for planning board. They've been emailed to the town board. I think all 3 candidates are fine, and I would suggest that when we pick 2, that we offer the third one the option to go onto the zoning board. Zoning board is very integral to the town of Niskuna, just like the planning board. We also need alternates there. So I'm actually recommending appointing all three, and it's just a kind of up to the board which two we'd want to put on planning board and which one we would want to offer the zoning board to. The number 15 is a resolution to appoint a member to the Complete Streets Committee. This could possibly be 2 members, depending on what we do with the planning board, because a member of the Complete Streets Committee requested to be on the planning board. So both, I was fortunate enough to talk to both of these people, and they both be happy to go. So I just, when we get all of the names sorted out, I recommend that we appoint 1 or 2 members to the Complete Streets Committee. 16 is a resolution to appoint members to the Comprehensive Plan Committee. I received 2 resumes that came through the website blast for the Comprehensive Plan Committee. I have reached out via phone calls and emails to both. I have not heard back from either. No, I might have heard back from 1. I will make sure that I touch base with both. And I am also offering all of these people the ability to come to one meeting before the town board appoints them, just to make sure that it's a good fit. But I believe that they all really do want to move forward. So there may be some shifting between which meeting comes to which appointment, but I could have as many as 2 appointments to the Comprehensive Plan Committee. And then the last, a resolution to appoint a member to the Tree Council. I spoke to her, I believe, this morning, and she's like ready to go. So I mentioned that she can come to the next Tree Council meeting, but she's not able to make that one. The Tree Council is doing that presentation at the next Finance Board meeting, and she's ready to come to that, and she hasn't even been appointed to the board yet. So I think that one will be fine. And then 18 is the tentative resolution to appoint an alternative member to the Zoning Board of Appeals. 19 is a tentative resolution to make a secret determination and call for a public hearing on amendments to the zoning code as it relates to short-term rentals. So it's been a little while now because they've mostly been at the planning board, but you guys did hear from residents that we're having some issues with short-term rental impacts in a town of Niskuna. Referred the code to the planning board. They have been working very diligent on it over the last 5 months maybe, and have gotten to the point where they are ready to make a recommendation. They are required to do another public hearing because they did make some changes after the initial public hearing. But I think that by the end of September, they will be ready to make a recommendation to you, because you have to do a resolution making a secret termination and then calling for the public hearing before you can hold it. My recommendation to you would be to do that at the end of September, because your public hearing won't actually be until the end of October. And we really want to get this code in place because there is currently no code. And that would give us a good timeline so that we can be ready to adopt towards the end of the year. And then I can either start enforcing it December 1st or January 1st, somewhere in that time range. If anybody has questions on the code, I'm happy to answer it. It was in the Economic Development Committee packet. There are going to be some changes from that packet. Once those changes are made, I will email them all to you guys. There was also a seeker recommendation from the CAC. They do recommend that there are no negative environmental impacts from adopting this code. So I will get the seeker determination to you guys as well. If you want a more lengthy discussion here, we can have, or you can wait to see the code. It's up to you.
So I was at the last meeting and the code was there, and as an attorney, well, I like the way it's written. So I urge everyone to go back and look at that meeting or look at the code. It's pretty straightforward. I think it addresses everything that was brought up.
But it's going to be adjusted. It's not final.
So at the public hearing at the planning board meeting, we did hear some additional comments from residents to tighten up some parts of the code. The main goal is to limit unhosted, because we consider that kind of to be a commercial use of a property where you're basically buying a house to rent it out 24/7, 365 days a week. So that's very limited to commercial residential areas in the town. And then hosted, where you actually live in the house, would be allowed in basically all the other zonings, with some pretty strict rules in order to make sure that any operating short-term rental is operating in such a way that it is not impactful to the neighborhood, and that you're able to enjoy your property in a peaceful and respectful way, and that you're not worrying every day about, trash and noise and, things that don't normally happen with a regular single family home. So when the public came, they did have a couple of additions, for instance, like a minimum week. So rather than being able to rent a short-term rental for one day, you would have to rent it for a week. That reduces the amount of turnover in the short-term rentals, and it probably disincentivizes like just renting it on a Friday night. So that is one of the changes that we're making. We also went back and forth on which commercial zones should be allowed to have unhosted, and we're removing RP. So there's just a couple little tweaks that we're making, but the bulk of the code that you see in the Economic Development Committee packet is the code that we're proposing to adopt. I'll send you the changes.
Is there a way you could include a map to show us what commercial zones they're looking at?
Yeah, I will write that down when I go sit back down on my.
And then also, so for all the boards, the potential candidates, would that fill all of those boards? Will we still have any open positions? Because I know that's been one of our goals, is to try to get all these boards filled. And we did the appointment policy, that committee did that policy. So would that kind of move us closer to that goal?
Yeah, so I'm just going to name drop because Andrew Millspaw has been an incredibly useful volunteer, very intelligent engineer, comes to every single Complete Streets meeting, has a lot of good things to say. He is the Complete Streets member that would like to move to the planning board. I highly recommend that he be one of the people that we appoint to the planning board. If we were to move him to the planning board and then appoint the 2 Complete Streets, we'd be full on planning board, Complete Streets, comprehensive plan, tree council, which is really good for us. And then we'd still have one more alternate on the zoning board of appeals, which is a really good way to get introduced into a board. It's not a heavy lift in terms of like time and heavy packets, but it is a really good way to understand the zoning code. So we'd still have one alternative member to the zoning board of appeals, and we need a fair number of people on the historic preservation committee.
As we talked about in the policy that you were involved in with the committee, can you now, I'm looking back through my emails, can you send them just separately to the board? Because I know you included everybody on your committee, economic development, historical preservation. Can you just put together, just for the town board, right? This is
The
the
resume,
resumes for
planning board,
resumes, zoning. okay?
absolutely.
I think that'll get, so we make sure that the town board members, we're getting a lot of emails. So we get that, maybe a little more attention
Yeah,
to the board.
you and
right?
I have talked about
Is
that.
it
I can definitely.
Just us on the board, then we'll know that's what we need to look at, okay?
Yep, I'll do that tomorrow morning. All good people, very thankful to all the people that applied. And if you're not chosen, it's not because you're not a good volunteer. It's just some tough competition there. So. And then my last one is a tentative resolution to award a contract for construction plans for sidewalks. So last year we submitted for a Climate Smart Communities grant on sidewalk improvements. It was not awarded. It's a highly competitive grant. But in order to be prepared for that, we put aside $175,000 in our sidewalk line and I just had it on my phone, I believe $95,000 in our ADA line. I'll tell you. Oh no, $125,000 in our ADA line. Because we were not awarded that grant, we didn't have a project selected to use that money this year. But our ADA compliance money, it really needs to be spent every year. When the town adopted an ADA compliance plan, it requires that the town spend money on it every year in order to be eligible for federal highways money, like the CHIPS money that we use to pave our roads. So it's really important that we are moving forward with upgrading our sidewalks to make them ADA compliant according to our plan. So I ran this through Complete Streets. Their recommendation for the ADA compliance line is to upgrade Palmer. Palmer Avenue has, between Grand Boulevard and Van Antwerp Road, has an existing sidewalk that is not ADA compliant. It's very thin. And the county is updating Grand Boulevard with a crosswalk. So I actually think it's very good timing to when you're crossing the crosswalk to land on an ADA compliant sidewalk that goes all the way to the school. That's our recommendation for the ADA compliance line. And then
Do you have a cost estimate on that yet?
I have a cost estimate on it. Yes. I am actually maybe just doing the engineering with this money. I believe the cost estimate, let's see, so the Climate Smart grant was 1.5 million, and Birchwood is 666,000. So I think that Palmer must have been around the like $250,000 range for
And if you spend the money on planning or design, that counts
counts.
for upgrades and within the ADA compliance.
Yeah. So the idea would be, at least in the tentative budget that we're putting forth in the budget hearings, we're keeping these lines the same. So what we talked about was both for the sidewalk construction and for the ADA compliance, doing the engineering now. We're running low on time. Construction season is very short at this point. Getting the engineering and the bid documents out, and then using next year's money for construction.
And that, so you're asking for that would be this year's money, the 175 plus next year's money in that category? Is that what you're saying?
I will probably not spend down fully this year's money. The engineering estimate that I have right now for Palmer is like $40,000. So we may be able to, I don't know, it's always a question for Elena, get the design done and out to bid and use some of this money to help with next year's money. But the engineering itself won't even come close to the budget lines that we have. But at least in my mind, and in discussing this with Complete Streets, we definitely want to at least get as much, because we didn't get the grant. But if we get the engineering and we make these projects shovel ready, we're either in a way better position for grant funding the next time, or we're okay to actually just go ahead and spend the money that we've got in our budget to do these items.
Was that money that was put aside for the grant? Because it was the match money, right?
It was match,
Okay.
yeah.
So was that put in a special, was it put in an account specifically earmarked for ADA stuff, or was it specifically earmarked for this grant that we ended up not getting?
No, it was actually specifically put in an ADA line. It's our sidewalks and pedestrian safe routes lines. Actually, Ray manages them. It's 5410, and the ADA compliance, I think, started in. This doesn't have headers, but I would guess 2023. Do you remember, Janet? I think that we created the ADA compliance line in 2023. Yeah. So in 2023, we had $89,000 in there, and we used it partially to construct the landings of the Plum Street sidewalk and make those ADA compliant.
Yeah, we were going to use the ADA money if we had gotten the state grant to help with Route 7.
No, actually, this was set aside for Palmer. Palmer was the one that we actually submitted for the Climate Smart Communities grant. The nice thing about having gotten that grant is every dollar we spent, we would have gotten another dollar. This is moving forward without the grant. So obviously every dollar we spend is a full-on dollar, but we do need to make sure that we are spending money on ADA compliance every year.
Right. But as you said, we can do that with design
Correct.
for this
Yeah.
year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that shows that we're complying with our plan and we're moving forward. And I think what they used to do it as kind of a carrot, but now it's a stick. And what they look for is that you are spending your own money to fix this problem.
And when we put that money aside for the grant match, did we go above and beyond what we usually have or put aside for ADA? Like, is there, you know what I mean? Like, did we go above and
Yes.
beyond and there's a chunk there?
So our ADA plan set out a 5-year spending plan. It's quite expensive to upgrade our sidewalks for ADA spending, and I can email you guys the ADA plan if you want to look at it. But essentially, we were ramping up our spending. The first year, we were spending $10,000. The second year, we were spending $89,000. The third year, we were spending $125,000. I actually think the fourth year is higher than $125,000, but I know that the budget is very tight next year, so I think that Beth kept it at $125,000. I think that's okay. But when you look at what we have to spend overall to bring our public places up into ADA compliance, I mean, it's really expensive. The federal government understands that, so they're not expecting towns to spend $1 million on their sidewalks every year, but they do want to see like a concerted effort to try and tackle it. I believe that our plan is a 30-year plan, but at some point, you probably will even have to start spending more than $125,000 a year.
So, Ms. Robertson, I just want to comment on the boards that positions that we have been filling. I know I and our Economic Development Committee have been stressing the importance of these committees, like the Planning Board and the Zoning Board and Complete Streets. And I know we've been stressing it to the people at privilege of the floor who come and give us their comments, which are very helpful, and we need them. But filling these seats in these committees go a long way in setting the policy of the town, because the town board relies on these committees, and we take their advice very seriously. So it's very good to have these boards and committees filled up. Finally, I think it's been several years since we've had them all almost filled up to capacity. And again, they will be setting the policy and really making a difference in the town. So job well done. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that you, John, do a good job of announcing at every meeting. I think it makes a difference. Hopefully people are listening. But even if we're full, we have a policy now, and I keep a list of people who would like to step in when there's space. So don't be afraid to keep sending resumes.
Thank you.
And that's part of the appointment policy that we created, was having a rolling list of resumes. So as things come up, so yeah, send the resume.
Any more questions on any of those? The awarding the contract is very tentative. I had one bid and I felt like it was a little high, so I'm going to get at least 2 more, and it'll just depend on when they come in if that'll be ready for award or not.
Any further questions or discussion? No? All right. Thank you. All right. Police and Public Safety Committee.
Good evening, everyone. Number 21 is a resolution to authorize the surplus of equipment. The recommendation from our firearms instructors and our armorers are that we need to begin transitioning out of our current generation of sidearm, and trade them into our firearms dealer to acquire new ones. We have funds budgeted for that. It's within our purchasing policy for us to purchase those things, but we want to be getting credit for our previous firearms that we currently own by trading them in. So that's all that is. Number 22 is a tentative resolution to authorize the purchase of LPR technologies. I'm probably going to pull this. I explained in the committee, there's a lot of moving pieces to this. We have Motorola is currently on the Sourcewell contract, which is a vetted consortium for us to be able to purchase software technologies off of that. That is recognized by the town of Niskuna. But I'm waiting for another vendor who is comparable to Motorola to give us a separate quote for what we're looking for, out of an abundance of transparency and caution, because it's a lot of money. It is grant money, but it's a lot of money that we're going to be spending to make this purchase. So I'm probably going to pull that until I get that other quote from the separate vendor, and then we'll have a further discussion next month about it. And then lastly, what I mentioned in the previous meeting was the tentative agreement with SUNY for the apprenticeship program. And that's all I have. Does anybody have any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm just making a note and I write slow. Finance and General Government Committee.
Elena, we need to add the resolution to enter into a contract with CB20 for managed help desk under finance and general
Is that going
government.
to be on the September?
We'd like it to be. Thank you. We also have a tentative resolution to appoint a controller and a resolution to make certain budgetary modifications.
Okay, now are we going to have a resolution for the assistant controller position as we discussed in finance? Is that going to be
That was added from the floor, so I've added it. to
so
the
you've
agenda.
added that? Okay, and I think we should also add another resolution to appoint a supervisor at our next meeting.
Ms. Nguyen, I just want to thank you for your service that you've done these past several weeks since we've been without a comptroller. This is the second time I believe you stepped up and filled a big void here in the town, and it has not gone unnoticed. Definitely above board and beyond your current job description. So thank you again.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And if I could pile on that too, I mean, she has been wonderful with this transition, this gap right now. You're doing a lot. And that's kind of why we wanted to make sure that you weren't handcuffed in what you're doing during this time, especially because
helpful.
it makes it hard for, when normally you could just pass it to the comptroller and they would sign off on it, for you have to go to hunt down 4 different people just to sign off on something that was already approved. It's like having, you buy your groceries and it's bagged, and then it's bagged again, and then it's bagged again, and then it's bagged again just for you to take it home, but it was already purchased. Like, that's my little analogy. So I appreciate you, other than you being a Dolphin fan, but I appreciate you. So
And I want to give a shout out to Frank in our office, the accountant, and to Dottie, because they're at my desk every day asking what they can do to help. And that's important, right? We all work together. They've been great.
Yes, but you lead the charge, Janet. You
don't know
you
how.
are the leader. You've
Whoa, whoa.
done exceptional job.
Thank you.
And, even when you were home not feeling well, you were taking calls, doing work, continuing to help us keep the town running. And that does not go unnoticed at all.
I appreciate that.
True dedication. Thank you.
And that's one of those things where, you might not see it because it's going on in town hall, but that's what's going on. Like, that's the peek behind the curtain, is like Janet is making sure I think we talked about the Titanic this morning. I talked about how I watched when I was going to go to law school and take the test, there was a 24-hour marathon of Titanic, and I watched it 3 times in a row and but that's another story. But she's just shoveling the coal into the fire there and just making this ship run. So,
Well, and I want to thank Elena too, because she's been very instrumental in helping me through some difficult decisions that we've had to make, and a lot of HR issues that have, for some reason, when things go wrong, they really go wrong, right? So I appreciate that as well.
So, all right. So any other questions, discussions, criticism of the Dolphins for Finance and General Government Committee? No? All right. So with nothing else at this time, I motion to move into executive session pursuant to Public Officers Law 1105. Thank you. Yes. Subsection F, discuss employment of a particular person and persons. And do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? All right. And at the close of the executive session, we will not take up any additional town business.
Joe, are we going to have opening to the public?
That's usually for the town board meeting, not for the agenda meeting.
Do we need to stay?
Hmm?
What department heads do we need to stay?
All of them, I believe. If all
Department
the
heads, can you please stay?
Not for executive session. I'll have to call you back here.
No. Hang on, I apologize.